Alright everyone, after so many years of being on this channel here, I finally got a Nintendo. Look at that. Look at that beauty right there. This is classic at its best. Now of course, yeah, I do have a 2600 Junior. You know, it's older hardware than this, but when most people think of classic gaming, almost all of them now sees the original Nintendo as that system. Now of course there are older games out there that will look at the 2600 that way. Me, I'm younger than them, and I actually grew up on the Nintendo. After the Nintendo I went to the Sega Genesis. I actually skipped the Super Nintendo, ironically. But I had a next door neighbor that had a Super Nintendo, so you know, we would switch systems all the time, so I kind of had the best of both worlds right there. But anyway, I remember having an original Nintendo when I was young. But, you know, looking back now, there are a lot of great qualities about this system that just makes this system such a classic. You know, when you look at other game consoles, this was really the only system. Well, I think there was another system that had a front-loading design. I want to say the what's that called? The Channel F, I want to say, had a similar design. But you know, if you're watching this and if you're vaguely into the video game history, you probably still don't know what the hell a Channel F system is. So anyway, so yeah, this original model is a front-loader design. So you just take the game, put it in. Now keep in mind, this particular one has a new 72-pin connector in it, and I did mod the system to, I say mod loosely, it's actually, yeah, you are modifying the system, but it's not really hard at all. In fact, I'll actually do a separate video showing you guys exactly how to do this. But basically I went in, took a small flathead screwdriver and pried off one of the prongs on a particular chip called the NES chip in the system. It's basically a lockout chip that prevents unlicensed games being played on the system. So when you do open up any of these cartridges, if it is a licensed game, you are going to see the NES chip inside the cartridge. So the chip in the cartridge and the chip in the system would read each other. And if it sees that, yes, this is a valid game, it'll start playing. And this comes to one of the biggest problems with the original Nintendo, is the dreaded blinking light of assholes. So typically with these systems, when you put in a game, you turn it on, you see the TV flashing, you see the LED light here flashing. That has to do, not there's necessarily wrong with the game, it's just a bad connection between the NES chip. So what's happening is it's not communicating properly, and it's preventing the game to be played. So essentially when you see the blinking light, what it's doing is the NES chip is resetting the system. So every time you see the light flashing, it's resetting itself. Essentially doing it automatically, like hitting the reset button, hitting the reset button, hitting the reset button. That's what it's doing. Now there are other issues that will come up. Once in a while, when I do put in a game in here, I do get a gray screen, and that has to do with a connection issue. It's, you know, just bad connection. You know, keep in mind, these systems are over 20 years old, so in today's standards, it's not going to work perfectly, but it still does work. And all these games I have here do work. So expect expect some game videos coming soon. But let's just take a quick look at the system before I go. You know, obviously in the front here you got the tray here. That's where you put the game. You push it down, turn it on. Power reset button, 2 controller ports. On the back here you got your RF and your AC adapter. And on the side here, which is the absolute best part of the system, is composite video. How awesome is that for a system that came out in 1985 to have composite videos? Pretty cool. Now, one thing to note, when you look at the bottom of the system, you see this thing. You see this little cover. Now, when I had the motherboard apart, it actually does have an actual slot here. And this was originally supposed to be an expansion port. And they put that just to future-proof the system in case they wanted to add additional attachments to the system, but that never really came to be and they never really used it. But it was there just in case they decided to do something with it. Over in Japan is the Japanese version called the Family Computer, or the Famicom for short. They had the disk system, they had a modem and things like that. Over here was essentially just the system. And at least here in the US, the good thing about the US version of this system is that the controllers are not hardware, they're just controller ports. So that's the controller, pretty basic. And of course, the light gun, or the zapper. Now this is the original gray model. Now I don't know if this works, I can't really test this because I don't have a CRT TV anymore. I went all digital. And this doesn't really work with HD TVs because it needs a light. So I have it just for the hell of it. You know, I have some games here. I'll get more, but these are just some of the games, and I'll make videos on them. So that's just a quick look at the Nintendo Entertainment System. Pretty cool. So, like always, have a good one.